And welcome everybody back to Tech Talks. I am Victor Matthews here with Julie, and we have this week just general tidbits here and there, good for the average consumer kind of to know. Nothing super advanced or crazy this week.
Sounds good. And should we go ahead and start with the article I just read or was just
Yeah, you
asking
just
about?
sent me.
Yeah.
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So I saw a headline about Google Photos and I use that app, so I thought I'd read it, but then I was a little confused and wanted to double check with Victor because according to this article, it was saying something about whenever you share the link for photos in Google Photos, it shares all the metadata, like the geolocation, and that could potentially not be safe. Like you're just meaning to share like a photo, for example, and you're now sharing like your house location with whomever you're sharing that photo with, for example. And so the inherent risks there are pretty obvious. But my question was, the article, the way it presented it going through settings, it didn't say through the settings that it was specifically just for the link sharing. It kind of sounded to me like it was going to just completely shut off the gathering of that metadata, including the geolocation, which I like that when we take pictures, Google keeps that metadata. I think it's fun sometimes to be like, oh yeah, where did I take this? And for my own interest to be able to pull up and see, oh, I took it at this date, at this time, at this location. Really like that. So I don't want to get rid of that, but I definitely see the article's point, that author's point about not wanting to always share that. And so can you elaborate and clarify?
Yeah, so I just pulled it up here on the settings in the Google Photos. You have remove geolocation, and it says right here removes photos and videos that you share by link, or from photos and videos that you share by link, but not by other means.
Oh,
And
okay. So it is just when you share it by link. Oh, I don't know if
it's not focusing.
Yo.
Oh, well. It's like focused on us back here, which is better anyways. So if you want, so yeah, when you turn that option on in photos, it won't stop gathering that information because that information isn't even gathered by photos, Google Photos.
It's not.
It's gathered by the camera app.
Oh, which is a separate. Oh, I forget that kind of detail on me.
So you would have to turn it off in the camera app if you want to turn off geolocation altogether.
I see. Okay, so then to turn off the sharing of your geolocation for link shared images, you go through settings, and then is it just
in the
through
Google
settings?
Photo apps? Yeah, it's just you open up settings and then it'll be right there. Just a quick scroll down, and it'll say remove geolocation.
All right. Oh, one other thing from that article that caught my attention. So Victor often calls the 3 lines. So backing up even further. Okay. Sometimes on phones, instead of words, they use those pictures, the hieroglyphic things. And there's the 3 dots, like an ellipses, which is pretty understandable. But there's the 3 lines that for a long time, my brain just would like ignore them, and it took a really long time for me to get used to the idea that that's like a list, and then you would call it a sandwich or a sandwich board.
Yeah, I referred to it as like a sandwich or a burger or whatever.
Side note, this
but that was
article,
just like a small.
This article called it a hamburger, and I thought that was interesting because I'd never heard that. And I'm like, it doesn't look at all like a hamburger. Hamburgers have curves on the top, and this is 3 straight lines. And there are lots of things that have 3 straight lines, but a hamburger is not one of them.
It is literally. It is specifically a menu list. Like that's what it is. Like depicting is just a menu, right? So, but it's taking that idea of menu and compacting it into
trying to make it into a visual cue.
Yeah.
That hopefully for those that are visually inclined, it.
And then sometimes they have the 3 dots up on top of each other.
Which just means more. An ellipses like means that there's something omitted, there's something more, and so that makes sense to me. But the 3 lines, like,
because that the
It
three
took a
lines is
while. I
often
get
used as like a main menu, while the three dots are used as like a sub menu. So like if you Google Gmail is actually a good example of this. On the left side, you have where you want to see your inboxes. You can hide that, and it'll be three menus. But then when you're in an email and then you want to reply, they also have the three dots next to it to show that there's more to that, instead of using the same menu button to show that there's a drop down there. So usually the three lines are kind of like the overarching menu for the program, and then the three dots are for like an individual action that you're working on.
fair enough.
That's general rule. Every program has its own rules, but typically the way like the world works helps create this guideline of how
It is nice
apps
when there's
work.
consistency. And so, again, now that I've gotten used to the three lines, and I think having a label, you calling it a sandwich, I've now, whenever I see it, I say, oh, it's a sandwich.
Yeah.
And I can at least associate that. But before that, I was like, this. An M would be more helpful to me because the M stands for menu, but it's fine. I'm getting used to it, and I know it can be more efficient space-wise, especially for pictures. Some pictures, but again, if they get so that there is a consistent, more universal representation of icons, I think that's part of my problem with emojis at this point too, is there's a lot of ambiguity in emojis, and so many people, like, there are those social new meanings for some of them. I'm definitely not up on all of that, and
Yeah,
it's kind of
emojis are a bit
confusing.
weird because there's essentially, I'd say, two different emoji meanings depending on who you're talking to. You
Well,
have
at
the
least two.
Yeah, well, there's other people that come up with some random reason of why they do it, but there's generally two populations of people. There's people that use emojis all the time, and then there's people that don't use emojis.
But seldom do.
Yeah, that
Yeah.
seldom do. And they have different dialects in their emoji uses
Right.
between the two, but they're pretty consistent within those two realms. So, like a person that uses emojis all the time, they have a very like their emoji meanings between each person that use them are going to be pretty similar. But it will be very different from somebody that doesn't use emojis that often. But between the people that don't use emojis that often, they actually tend to have a very similar meaning.
I wouldn't
Them.
bifurcate the division here. I would say it's a much bigger
That's
difference
in general.
people.
Like,
Sure.
yeah, there's gonna be some
Sure.
outliers here and there, but
Yeah,
in
no,
general.
but I'm meaning even things like the brown swirl. A lot of people think that it means poo, but
like
it was
100%
intended
of
to
the
mean
yeah.
chocolate ice cream.
But not 100% of the people, and now even in the
Not
official
100.
even in the official
Really?
emoji
They
movie,
changed it?
yeah, even in the official emoji
Okay.
movie, it is
All
poop.
right.
I think it was also acted by Patrick Stewart, Sir Patrick Stewart.
Oh, I don't.
He was a poop. If I'm not mistaken, I haven't watched the movie
Yeah.
myself, but I'm pretty sure that was.
Well, moving on
case.
from here. What were the topics you had for today?
All right, so back to the notes list. So we were talking last time about HTTPS.
Yeah, because I just learned that means secure.
Yeah, so the so when you go onto a website, you usually put on www. whatever.
Yeah.
And then it automatically adds in, once you hit enter, the HTTP protocol.
Okay.
Well, I mean, P means protocol. So HTTP is essentially the language of how it reads, or how the computer reads stuff. It's like there's. I'm not going to get into it.
Okay.
Right. So it's essentially just it stands for Hypertext Transfer Protocol. Like something like that. And what but when you have the S added to it, the S means it's secure, and what that means is that there's a certificate on the server side that is acknowledging that there is a secure connection between you and the client, you and the server that you are connecting to.
As in that it's verified as you're accessing it.
Yeah. So
Okay.
when you see that HTTPS, you can be sure that it has a certificate, which it kind of adds legitimacy to the site that you're on. It's
Cool.
not 100% guaranteed to save you from any bad sites, but
It's a good sign, and it's
yeah.
an interesting fact to know, something I never knew.
Then just random things kind of here and there throughout the past couple weeks, because we had
Like,
the Apple announcement, and so that kind of delayed this. But over the past couple weeks, there's been some interesting things that general consumers might just go over their heads. For instance, Google Express, the Google app where people would purchase things, they rebranded to Google Shopping. So if you had Google Express and you don't see it anymore, it is because it is now Google Shopping. Nothing else has changed. It used to be pretty much. It used to seem like be Google trying to. I don't know if they were trying to do like kind of an Amazon thing or whatever, but they was initially pitched as like, you can buy things on this and somebody will deliver it to you that day, and you can get things within a couple hours.
but that's not the case.
Not anymore. Well, there are some things, but not anymore. That's not the focus. Now it's more of a generalized shopping center where you can just search, and it will link items that you search for based off of the places that have them, and then you're essentially shopping multiple locations at once.
A broader pickings than just Amazon. Does it source from places like Amazon as well? Well, I say but I guess I was meaning also including like big competitors like Amazon, or does it source specifically from other? But
I think it mostly sources from businesses like in the area.
Oh, from your area then.
Yeah.
Huh.
So if you're searching for something like laundry detergent, and it'll show like Target, 6 miles away or whatever, you can order it from there.
Okay. I really haven't used Google Express. I think I put one work order through Google Express, but I didn't even follow through with the checkout. It was some. I have no report really one way.
But I think it does still search the broader internet too, if it is something that you like is not a local.
It was for foam rolling pin for rolling on. Yeah.
Yeah, and so it'll pretty much it just looks for the item that you are looking for, and then sources businesses that sell it, and then you can buy directly from Google Express, and then it purchases from the business or however it does it, and then gets shipped to you. So that's Google Express, or now Google Shopping is the new branding of it.
All right.
You mentioned, actually, you noticed that you were using your Google News feed and it had a video on there. Oh. And you weren't able to interact with the video like you wanted to.
Oh, that was so annoying. Yeah, so Google News, sorry, I don't mean to jump in, but
You're
I was really annoyed because I'm so used to using the YouTube app and being able to leave a YouTube video going in the background.
Also, Google News is, if you have like an Android phone, when you swipe to the right, it brings up the Google News feed so that you, so it just gives up a bunch of news, and that's what we're talking about here.
Sometimes it's news. Like not real news, but I don't know. I'm not crazy fond of their algorithms, and their whole completely eliminate this topic or this source is a little annoying. I just wish they had better curation. Anyways, that's besides the point. Back to the YouTube thing. If you happen to click on a news article that I guess it's an article, but a news article
It's actually a YouTube video.
that has a YouTube video or that is a YouTube video, it doesn't act like a regular YouTube video from the YouTube app. You can't play it in the background. You can't like turn off your screen and keep listening to that news clip.
That's a feature that we only have as YouTube Premium subscribers.
Oh, I didn't know that. Sorry. So apparently, also, if you have YouTube Premium, you can listen to your YouTubes with your screen off.
Yeah.
As if it's just like an audio and not waste your screen life. I didn't know that was. Oh.
Anyways, so
yeah.
she runs into a video that is a YouTube video on the Google News feed, and then she tries interacting with it but can't interact with it like she wanted to.
And by interact, he means ignore the visual of it and just have it playing in the background.
Yeah.
I couldn't do that.
So, but underneath at the video where it says to expand the screen to make it full screen, there's also a little word YouTube to let you know where this video is coming from. And I taught her
you can click that.
Yeah, you can click on
that.
that.
It's a hyperlink.
And it brings you to the video on YouTube. So
who'd have known?
She wanted everybody to know that you can do that in case you don't know that.
I had no idea, but I also have a tendency to overlook hyperlinks because if it doesn't look like that, like blue with the underlining, not like a very obvious hyperlink in the traditional sense, I don't notice it's that. Or if it's like, sometimes some websites will have like buttons, but there's no rectangle around it, so it's just a word on the screen. And without that defined space of knowing where to click, I'm just like, there's nothing. This happened with the McDonald's app. For a long time, I couldn't use the McDonald's. I couldn't figure out how to place orders because it wasn't in a rectangle. And I was like, just scrolling up and down, reading the words.
Rectangles are pretty old school. It looks very 90s. Most things don't use that system
For those
anymore.
that aren't visual processors, it helps having those visual boundaries.
Outside of submit button is the only button that I think actually ever has a box. Usually most websites for their links and their buttons, they don't have any like boxes.
I say we bring back the boxes. Universal design.
It looks very retro 90s.
I don't care about the aesthetic. I care about the function. We're talking everyone should be able to tell what this is for. Go back to universal design. Like, don't get rid of the boxes.
Most people understand. Most people figure
Most
it out.
people I work with do not understand.
You have a very specific clientele there, though.
Okay, specific, perhaps. But
they do have also websites. What's becoming more and more popular though is integrating websites with the ability to be read by bots, making it easier for integrations such as accessibility integrations. That's what it is. So, for instance, like if they want the website to be read to them,
that is nice.
Yeah, like being able to have a website that is readable for the computer to help with people that need the accessibility of websites being read to them. And then that also denotes buttons and links and things.
And that is really great. This is kind of a side note, but it's still staggering to me. Like, this has already come up this year. People still don't realize that voice to text is widely available for free to everyone. All you need is a Google email account, like that's free to make a Gmail account, and then you use the Google Drive. In Google Drive, one of the apps is the Google Docs. Google Docs has free voice to text. This is something that I commonly, very often recommend for my students, and oftentimes parents will be like, where do we get this? Or like, oh, that'd be great if we could use it at home. And it's like, you can do. It's in Google Docs. Everyone has it. It's free now. It's great.
Yeah.
Thanks, Google.
The voice to text, I remember back in my college days,
Dragon naturally speaking days.
Yeah, the Dragon.
My language today is.
The Dragon software that was $200 software. Now it's built into Windows.
You don't have to teach it your specific voice anymore now either.
Yeah, it's built into Windows. It's built into Mac. It's built into your phones. It's built into a lot of softwares, including Google Docs. I actually have not seen the newest Word docs from Microsoft, but I imagine that it also might be built into there already too.
I would hope so, but it might not be. I would hope so because it's a universal design thing that's pretty easy. Mm-hmm. It increases the accessibility significantly for a lot of people. That's a big.
So if you have questions on how to activate it, most of the time a quick Google search will teach you how to activate it on Windows, activate it on Mac, or activate it on your phone.
Touching on icons for a second, that the icon for the microphone is like that oval, like an old school microphone, which is kind of funny. And it looks nothing like this kind of microphone, certainly not.
It's like this, but standing up.
Well, it's like the oval older.
Yeah, they still have, I think the Yeti very much has that design, the Yeti microphones.
I don't know Yeti. But at any rate, that's besides the point. Mm-hmm. My favorite is the floppy disk picture being the save icon still and perhaps forevermore.
Yeah.
Which we get. I mean, I remember that was what we were using when I was young, but I think a lot of younger kids, the newer generations that are born now and forevermore, the floppy disk picture will be one of those hieroglyphics that they're just not really sure what it's supposed to be.
They just know it's a save icon.
Yeah, I guess once they learn it.
Next up is...
Oh, I did have a quick... You can look for the next thing. Is there a difference between a link and a hyperlink? Is a hyperlink you can click and it'll take you there, but is a link just like what you would copy and paste?
Yeah, a link is specifically the URL or wherever it's
but you
like
can't
the full
click it.
thing. No, it's I mean you
just
can
a link
click.
You can click.
You can click a link but the link is literally just the full text of where you're going. Mm-hmm. And then a hyperlink is when you hide that behind a word or whatever.
Oh, so you can. Oh, I see. So it either way, a link or a hyperlink you can click on. Mm-hmm. But
yeah. So when they say click on the link here, and they give like the full text of like what you're going to.
Or when they're like strategies for this, and the word "this" is
blue, then that's a hyperlink versus.
And you can click on it to go to what they're referring.
Yeah.
That's always nice. All right. And sorry for sidetracking so much.
You're good. Okay, so this was an interesting tidbit over the past few weeks. LastPass is a password saving software.
Pass.
Yeah. And what it does is it records your password so that you don't have to constantly remember it. And it's very much like Google Chrome's already built-in system. I think even Microsoft has it built in, has a password saver built in. So I'm not exactly sure why people use LastPass, because it's not
no more secure. It's just adding in one more.
Yeah, it's just another app that does the same thing as most people are either using Explorer or Edge or Google Chrome, and I don't know if Firefox would be the other competitor to that. Firefox and
what about
Apple Safari would be the last one, but most people on Apple still use Google Chrome, I'm pretty sure. Mm-hmm. But Safari and Firefox would be the other two. I don't know whether they have it built in. I would assume so. But the majority of people use Windows at least.
So tell us about LastPass.
Well, LastPass apparently had a bug in there that was that if people knew about it, they could. If I remember correctly, the LastPass bug, there was something to do with the caching, where it wasn't caching properly, and people could access your passwords via an old cached link. Let me see if I still have the article.
Yeah, I'm not really entirely sure the roundabout direction what you're saying how to get in, but what it sounds like is if you are using this to protect your passwords, you may have been at risk for having your passwords accessed by someone else.
Yeah, there was essentially a bug in LastPass. Google announced that that they found it because Google is constantly monitoring apps,
Yeah.
and they found that there was like a cached bug that was describing it. By the time when Google does this, they tell the company first. The company has several days to figure it out, get it fixed,
Sweet.
and patch it. So by the time we heard of it, it was probably already patched. But it is like nonetheless something that
Definitely of note.
yeah, something of note to put in.
Mm-hmm.
And things happen like that. That's goes back to our previous uh, talk of the Google password checker. That there was a Chrome extension that you can use that checks to see whether that your password and your login information on the site that you're in has been added to a list that they have of stolen passwords and login informations. And so that it will tell you if this password and login information combo has been used or has been stolen, and so that you can prompt you to change your password.
And that's automatic?
This is if you have it, the extension installed on Chrome.
Oh, okay.
You have to get the extension. It's a Chrome password. Let's see, you'd have to go back to that previous Tech Talk where we talked about it.
Fair enough. All right.
And the Google Home ecosystem has there was a bit of controversy after Google Home has taken over Nest. Nest was previously an independent company that was building security devices such as doorbells, cameras, just different things for your home. Very similar to Ring. I don't know if you heard Ring, but like a doorbell with a little camera on it that was connected to the internet that you could, so that when
to basically adjust the electronics in your house, like your lighting, your heating, your thermostat, things that way, right?
Yeah, Nest had that. So Google, Nest ended up partnering with Google very early on when it came to their Google Assistant. The Nest apps started working with Google Assistant, and then eventually Google just bought Nest, and now they're incorporating the two different companies together. And one problem that has occurred though is old Nest users are going to have their essentially they're going to have a fork in the road. They're either going to have to continue with their current Nest system the way they have it, and and apparently this has something to do with the login security or something to do with their account. But what's happening is if they keep their current Nest setup as it is, there's a chance that it won't ever get updated again because Google's switching over everything to a new platform, and some devices might not work with it. Some third-party apps that usually work with Nest won't work with it anymore.
And they're not doing like a trade-in or anything?
It doesn't seem to be. That seems like if you can either switch your account to the new Google version or not. And if you
it's
don't,
your account, it's not the hardware that will be coming
some
compatible?
hardware might not be compatible anymore. And so you either have to keep your current setup as it is. Some person was indicating that they had like a software program that they paid for, and it created like routines for them. So not only did they just do one, like they could just do one thing on the Nest app and everything would happen. So like they open the garage door and it turns on the thermostat and does everything.
Yeah.
And it was and that software wouldn't work in the new Google system because it was a third-party app that was connecting to the Nest system.
But I think, doesn't Google have that now? Because I know, like,
Google Assistant has that. You would have to. I don't know how detailed it is if it works for that specific situation. But yeah, Google Assistant does have like a routines feature.
Hmm.
But this is mostly the problem is the people that have invested in Nest already are having troubles because they might not want to switch over to the new Google
Right.
system.
Yeah.
But then that means that their old system is going to get old and less secure over time.
Yeah. They'll outdate, I would imagine.
Yeah. So it's kind of a rough road for the
Hmm.
original adopters of that.
What's up next?
Next up is another Google thing. We've been talking a lot about Google
Last week
today.
was Apple, so it's, I
Last
guess,
week was
apropos.
Apple. There's the other week. The week before was the year of Microsoft, and then today, this week it's Google. So Google Fi has announced
Hmm.
an unlimited plan and
Hmm.
$45 a month for unlimited talk, text, and web.
And do they throttle your data?
After I think it was after the same. They said that video stream at 480p, and that after I can't remember how much data it was. There was a threshold of data though. Essentially, it
And then
might
they
have been,
throttle it
and
just
then
like
they
most
throttle it.
plans.
Yeah,
It's pretty, I mean,
I think it was like 7 gigs or something like that,
that's at least
or maybe
Verizon
17 gigs.
and Straight Talk. I know both do that. I think most companies
Yeah,
do.
most companies with unlimited plan at some point have some sort of throttling.
Where that they make your data come slow. It's not
Yeah,
as fast.
not
The
as
bandwidth,
fast,
as in,
but you have to reach a pretty high threshold for that.
well, it's usually about 10 gigs, right?
It's either 10 gigs or 20 gigs. I can't remember. It's somewhere in there.
Well, that is nice though that Google Fi is having that unlimited as an option.
Some people, yeah, because some people just want an unlimited. And previously they tried maxing out your bill. I think at because before when they originally came out, their plan was scaling. So the more you use, the more. And then they're like, all right, well, I mean, obviously some people don't want to pay several $100s on their
Yeah,
bill.
because wasn't it like $10 for 1 mega or giga?
1 gigabyte for $10.
Okay.
And so they eventually capped bills at like $75 per line. But now they're just having a general unlimited plan, which you can pay $45 for. And so when it comes to the actual pricing strategy versus the unlimited plan, the regular price is $20 for the service for unlimited talk and text, and then
Right.
$10 per gigabyte of data. So with your general plan, you would need about 3.5 gigs of data usage in order to make it worth getting.
3.5. I thought you said 20 and then 45.
Yeah, two and a
so
half.
it would be, yeah, two
Two
and
and
a
a half
half
gigs of data being used on a monthly basis in order to
reach that $45 of
where it would
that
be more,
plan.
yeah,
If
where
you're
it'd be worth it.
consistently using the 2.5 and hitting $45 per month anyways.
Yeah. There is though a caveat: if you are on a family plan, you are then at a $15 talk and text,
Yeah.
except for the first line.
So then it's the 3.
And then it
gigs.
would be 3 gigs, yeah, that you would have to consistently reach in order to make it worth the $45. So, quick summary of that.
Yeah.
And oh, speaking of Microsoft, though, we were talking about the other day, and I'm testing like some new Microsoft things that because I'm kind of learning more about the features that Windows has incorporated in Windows 10 to see how they jive now, because Windows for a while has not had the best operating systems. Like Windows after Windows 7, like Windows 7 eventually got pretty dated and didn't have a lot of features that were modern to the new modern world with cloud things and with phones and whatnot. Yeah.
Okay, I'm sorry to jump in here, but I want to ask a few questions. So They did some weird jumping with their names. They went from Windows 7 straight to Windows 10, right?
No,
Was it Millennium in there somewhere?
no.
This is part of their
Millennium was
problem.
2000.
Well, yeah, but their names have no consistent pattern, which makes it very
Hmm.
impossible to remember what order they came out in. And so it seems really like impossible for a consumer, just like your average consumer who's not highly interested in technology, to have any idea of the relatability between how modern or how dated one of the operating systems from them is. It seems like such a
Mm-hmm.
simple thing that would have significantly at least improved like just the understanding of the things. Question specifically around Windows 7, is that older than Windows 10?
Yes.
Okay, at least that was
The order of the numbers still makes sense.
okay. 10 was the one where they did all the boxes and like they tried to shift to more like picture less word oriented, right?
That was Windows 8.
All right, I give up. You
Okay.
talk about this. I don't know enough.
So,
I'm so confused already.
brief history. We'll just go back to Windows 7. We won't go further back than that. Windows 7 ended up, and I think is still the most widely used operating system.
Of Windows?
Yeah,
Or in general of all operating systems?
in general of all operating systems too, but of Windows as well.
And when was that? When did 7 come out?
7 came out, let me check.
A while ago?
When did Windows 7 come out? Yeah, a long time ago.
Oh,
Here are some details.
2009.
oh, a decade ago.
Yeah, so
Wow.
Windows 7 came out back in
And
2009.
it's still okay. Go on.
And it was a good operating system. It was a good upgrade from Windows. I think XP was the one before that.
XP means
I don't know what. It was so back before in the 2000s. Naming things by number wasn't the cool thing to do. So Windows. Maybe it wasn't even XP. Maybe it was Windows 2000.
like it matters. Move on.
Anyways, sorry.
It's okay.
They before that it was a good logical jump. It improved the system. It was a lot smoother, compatible with a lot of things. It improved upon Windows Explorer or Internet Explorer, which was at the time the most common browser used, and most programs were built based off of Internet Explorer. And you'll see a lot of in the corporate world, many programs are still based off of Internet Explorer because they don't want to rewrite for any new systems. And so Windows 7 came out, great operating system. Everybody liked it. You were either Windows or Apple based off of whatever you liked. Then kind of the world hit this new smartphone, cloud-based, like this whole world of apps, and something that actually Apple was kind of already on top of for a while at that point. But the rest, it kind of exploded with the rest of the world, with Google coming out with like good Android phones, Apple coming out with better iPhones, like Apple focusing on their app stores. And
I thought, wait, I might have missed something you said. Wasn't the BlackBerry the first like smartphone? What is this? I don't even know what qualifies as
a BlackBerry was a very advanced phone. It wasn't considered a smartphone in the sense that we call smartphones today.
It was internet.
It was an
connected.
internet connected phone.
But now that I'm thinking about it, even like my old sliding, whatever that
Yeah,
called,
there was a lot of other internet connected phones.
Capable.
But it was an internet connected phone. It did do a lot, like it could.
Oh, it did
browse.
a lot of PDA stuff. I think that was what made
Yeah.
it a little separate from the phones of that age.
Exactly.
It accessed internet and did PDA and phone.
Yeah.
Okay. Sorry. Now back to your thing.
So the world blew up with a whole new kind of ecosystem of technology, right? And Windows' way of doing things became kind of old when it came to, you go to websites and download like their apps and stuff like that. Like people started using app stores, and people started using proprietary systems in order to get the apps. Usually, like, it helped obfuscate viruses. The operating systems they were coming out with were actually also very efficient. They worked on older computers or less powerful computers, which allowed them to be sold cheaper. Google Chrome or the Chrome books was a good example of like a very lightweight operating system that ended up being cheaper. So the response by Microsoft was Windows 8, which essentially redid the entire way Windows worked into those box kind of systems where the start menu was just a giant box system. And Microsoft is very horrible at actually telling people what Windows 8 was. When people saw that box system, they just were shut off to it altogether. And then because that's what they thought it was, because also at the same time, there was two different versions of Windows 8. There was a Windows 8S, I think it was, and then there was the Windows 8. Windows 8 essentially worked mostly as a normal Windows computer, but with the start menu being that box system, and with a new settings and stuff like that. Windows 8S was entirely those apps, and you can only get those apps from the Windows App Store. It's a very locked down system. And it very much like how iPad is. Like, you can't get any other apps outside of from the App Store. That's what they were trying to do with Windows 8S. But people just assumed that that was all Windows 8 was, where it was very locked in. You couldn't do anything, but with Windows 8 allowed it to, and which wasn't the case. They still had like Windows 8, the regular Windows 8, where you could install programs just like normal, and you can do everything like normal. But instead of the desktop being like the main thing, it was the start menu was like the main thing. Everybody hated it. It was also pretty buggy. The Windows Store was terrible. It had no apps on there, and it was not a good system. And like, there's all sorts of problems with it. Nobody wanted to transition to it because it didn't work with their current systems. Like, because it was already a pretty big jump. Because not only did they change the way the operating system worked, they changed the fundamentals of the operating system on how it installs, how it interacts with the motherboard and the hard drives and everything like that. Then it comes Windows 10, where it goes kind of more back to the Windows 7 style, but takes like the best features of Windows 8 and adds them all together. And that's what you got now. And people were very skeptical after Windows 8, and they just skipped Windows 9. It just went, and Windows is now saying, or when they came out with Windows 10, they said that this will be the last operating system. They were just going to upgrade this operating system from here on. And so so now you'll start seeing more and more people with Windows 10, and they're losing support of Windows 7. They're dropping support on Windows 7.
So
Windows 8 has already like lost support, essentially. It's just
okay. So when you say this is the last full OS that's coming out, do people they have to buy like a product key or license for that operating system? So from now on, if you have Windows 10, you'll have the key. It continues to
be Windows.
It's just that they'll keep updating it via internet, I assume.
Yeah.
And then you just do the accepting update.
Yeah. So Windows 10 came out. It was actually a pretty stable, pretty lightweight operating system. It was, I think, even less memory taken up than for the operating system than even Windows 7 had. It was like you just upgrading to Windows 10, you instantly got more space on your hard drive. It's used about the same amount of memory. It's about 3 gigs of memory, 2 to 3 gigs of memory, to use the system. So it was kind of a bit of a bog on the memory, but no worse than most any other operating system outside of Chrome OS that's super lightweight. So when they upgraded to Windows 10, they're trying to make that the standard now. And back to what we were getting at, which was, let me just double check this. We were getting at like Windows upgrading their new systems, and they have a bunch of new features in Windows 10 that allowed, like, that just kind of modernized it for how the world works today. I've been using that. So back to the original story that I was going for. When I was using the new Edge browser that they came out with, there was a feature that I thought was pretty cool of switching between your phone and your computer on the website.
You mentioned this. Go on.
Well, literally just a few days after we talked about that, Chrome updated their browser so that now when you click on the Chrome the address bar, you'll see like a little computer phone off to the little right hand side.
Like on my phone I could do this? Yeah. Okay, keep talking.
And you can send it to your computer. And it was actually not there. You have to click in the address bar.
Oh, in the typey bar.
We don't want to search though. We want to.
Why does it do that? Why is it when it's click on the thing? You can't do it on the phone?
Is this in Chrome?
Yes. As soon as you click in the typing box at the top, it immediately like removes the text that is there. It looks like on the phone, and
I'd have to double check on the phone, but on the computer version of it, at least, they have you can send it to your phone Chrome browser. Oh, maybe you also don't have a computer linked to your browser, so
that could be. So maybe once you have them linked, it's pretty easy to just throw
back and forth between them. And I thought that was cool when on Edge, and then literally a few days later. And so I'm not saying that Google's listening to our podcast and they're just on top of it, but clearly they had a lot of time to do it before then. But it was just happened to be a few days after we announced it.
The convenience is nice.
Yeah, but good. Edge still has that draw feature, which is really cool. Chrome team. So
throwing that out there.
Just throwing that out there.
If we could draw.
Also, we talked about Apple the other week where they have the Apple Arcade, and I learned that at the Play Store actually has a very similar thing.
It's called the Google Play Store had that. What's it called?
Google Play Pass.
Oh. Google Play Music, Google Play Videos, Google Play
Pass. Google Play Pass. I think it's $3 a month, and you get like a bunch of apps that you can just download and use, and that's guaranteed no microtransactions, no anything else. Just
no loot, no gambling.
No loot boxes. I don't know if they have any gambling specific games, but I don't think so. It's just literally these are kind of apps that have no other side things but the app themselves. And I don't think it's limited to just games though on the Google Play Pass. Like the Google or the Apple Arcade is limited to just games. I think this is just whoever wants to be part of this Google Play Pass, you get access to their apps. And that's it for today. Hope you guys enjoyed.
Yeah. I mean, I did. Hopefully, anyone else out there.
Be sure if you're on not Facebook, if you're on Google, not YouTube. That's what it is. To like and subscribe, and definitely if you are on any of the podcast sites, Apple, Google, subscribe. We do these weekly. Have a great day. Bye.